Hello, you're listening to Chapter 2 of Smoke Between Worlds. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy my stories. Now, let me transport you to the setting. This chapter begins after Seleah has already traveled back in time, all the way back to 1995. But now, we're flashing forward to 2025, where older Minjae, her manager from her job where she was fired from, has suddenly appeared. As we enter, it's evening now, her apartment. The boxes were half packed. A suitcase leaned against the wall. Her laptop sat open on the table, the screen black. When the knock came, Seleah almost ignored it. But then she heard his voice. "It's me, Seleah. Minjae." She opened the door. Minjae stood there, an older man with silver hair and svelte frame. The light from the hallway bronzed his skin, his expression calm but careful. The look of someone who learned to enter someone's grief without making it worse. "Seleah, you didn't have to come." "I was nearby," he said. "I heard what happened." He stepped inside, pausing at the sight of the boxes. "You're leaving?" "Seleah, I don't know yet. Maybe I should." He nodded once quietly. The kind of nod that people use when they want to disagree but won't. "Hanrae can be difficult," he said. "She has her reasons, even when they don't make sense. But this doesn't have to be your answer." She folded her arms, looking down. "I appreciate that. But you know I can't stay here without work," she said. He looked at her, not pitying, but just thoughtful. "You've done good work, Seleah," he said. "I'll see what I can do. Maybe the university has an opening. It's not much, but it's a start." "You don't have to fix this," she said. "Maybe not, but I can help." He looked around, just smiled, just enough to change the air between them. Then after a moment, "Don't pack everything," he said. "Sometimes things turn around faster than you think." He turned toward the door, his tone still gentle. "I'll call you tomorrow." "Seleah." "All right. Thank you. 감사합니다." He gave a short nod and left. The door clicked softly shut. For a moment she stood still, listening to the quiet. Then she exhaled, picked up the mug from the table, and sank into the chair by the window. Outside, the city lights flickered, ordinary, distant, and somehow comforting. Morning came cold and colorless. Seleah stood outside Hanrae's shop, clutching the small folded map the woman had given her. The paper was soft at the edges, drawn in uneven ink, streets that bit like veins. "Start with what you can remember," Hanrae said. Seleah nodded and stepped into the fog. Her coat disappeared beyond the corner, her footsteps fading toward the waking city. Hanrae stayed outside the doorway for a while, eyes following where the girl had gone. Then she turned back inside, whispering to the air. Now, the threads had begun to move. Inside, she gathered her satchel, empty jars, and a strip of cloth to tie her hair back. The scent of sage and rain filled the room as she began to prepare her tonics for clarity, powders for concealment, herbs for steadying the heart. Her hands moved quickly, but her face remained calm. Something told her that she would not return before nightfall. Across the city, Minjae hadn't slept. He sat on the edge of his bed, the small ID card turning over and over in his fingers. The same face, the same name, but the date, impossible. He tried to dismiss it, forged, fake, some foreign trick. But logic kept collapsing under the weight of what he had seen. Her strange questions, the unfamiliar accent, the way she looked at things, like someone seeing the world for the first time. He rubbed his eyes, ran his hand through his hair, and stood. The sun was pale against the window, but the pool in his chest was clear. He needed answers. He dressed, threw on his jacket, slipped the ID into his pocket, and stepped outside. Meanwhile, Seleah remembered a street name, half forgotten from her mother's stories, a green gate, a row of persimmon trees, a bus stop that was surrounded by lavender flowers. She followed the map until the rooftops changed color, until the smell of incense and herbs faded into laundry soap and diesel. People turned and looked back at her as she passed. She smiled, bowed slightly, asking in halting Korean, "Excuse me, Chogyo, I'm looking for a family. Family Mitchell, Rosalie Mitchell, and Thomas Mitchell. Arayo, do you know them?" Most people shook their heads politely and kept walking. An older woman finally stopped, wiping her hands on her apron, eyes narrowing as she tried to understand. Seleah repeated the names, pointed to the small photo that she kept in her pocket. The woman's expression changed. Pity, surprise, then quiet sorrow. She spoke quickly, words tumbling out of her mouth in rhythm. Seleah couldn't follow. The woman's voice softened. She touched Seleah's shoulder. Seleah nodded weakly. Though her ears was ringing, she thanked her. She bowed, and she walked away unsteady. The sound of traffic blurred. The city tilted slightly around her. Meanwhile, back at Hanrae's shop, the bell above the door gave a soft chime. Hanrae didn't look up. She was already pouring tea. "You came sooner than I thought," she said. Minjae stopped in the doorway, his hand still on the knob. His expression was tight, guarded. "What did you put in my pocket?" Hanrae smiled faintly, setting down the teapot. "Nothing that wasn't already yours," she said. He frowned, crossed the room, but not sitting yet. "That's not an answer," he said. "Well, it's the only one that fits." She gestured to the chair. The tea steamed between them both. When he didn't move, she sighed softly. "I knew your mother." That made him stop. His voice dropped, wary. "My mother's been dead for years," he said. Hanrae nodded slowly. "Yes, but love doesn't end with breath. She misses you. She loves you still." Minjae's jaw clenched. "You don't know her," he said. "I know the boy she raised, the one who built castles out of sand and stories, the one who played with a white dog that never left his side, the boy who said he would marry a princess someday." His breath caught. Something in her tone made the air feel heavier. "You lived on your own for so long, Minjae. In your own world, you feared the noise of others. But your heart, the one you buried deep within, it's awake again. You just don't recognize the sound." He finally sat down, his gaze fixed on the steam rising between them. "I don't believe in that kind of thing," he muttered. Hanrae poured the tea, her movements calm, knowing. "Belief isn't required, only honesty." Her eyes lifted to his, deep, patient, unblinking. "Tell me, what do you feel when you think of her?" Minjae's mouth opened, but before he could answer, the door burst open. The bell trembled. Seleah stood in the doorway, eyes red and tears streaming down her face, breath shaking. By the time she reached the shop again, she could barely breathe. She pushed the door open. She didn't even notice Minjae sitting at the table as she burst in clumsily. Hanrae looked up from the counter. Minjae stood as she entered. Seleah's voice broke into pieces. They're gone. They're gone, she gasped. My parents, they're gone. Her knees buckled. Hanrae crossed the room in 2 steps, catching her before she hit the floor. Shh, she whispered, stroking Seleah's hair. Lie down, my child. The truth is never what it seems at first. But Seleah didn't hear. She was lost somewhere inside of her own sound of her crying. Hanrae covered her with the woven blanket and stood there for a long moment, her eyes distant, her lips moving in a language older than either of them. And Hanrae brushed the tears from Seleah's cheeks with the gentleness of someone who had done it 100 times before. Calm yourself now, she whispered. Breathe, child. You will see the truth soon enough. Nothing stays hidden forever. Seleah's body trembled, and beneath the blanket, her breath became short, sharp pulls, like she was drowning in the air instead of water. Hanrae glanced at Minjae. He stood near the table, motionless, his hands clenched at his sides, his face pale and tight, his eyes dark with something unspoken. Stay with her, Hanrae said softly, her voice carrying quietly. I'll make tea that will calm her. Minjae swallowed, nodding once. As Hanrae disappeared into the back room, the silence between them thickened. The sound of the kettle was faint in the distance. Seleah turned slightly, her voice fragile. I thought they were still alive. I thought that if I found them... No, this is my fault. It's because I changed their fate. Me being here, I changed it. It's my fault. Now, I've lost everything. Her sentence dissolved into sobs. Minjae lowered himself slowly, kneeling beside her on the floor. For a long moment he didn't speak. He just watched her, his chest rising unevenly. When he finally did, his voice was quiet, uncertain. Seleah, don't decide yet. We don't know for sure. She looked at him through blurred eyes. He hesitated. Then in Korean, his tone changed, lower, steadier, a tremor of emotion beneath it.
아직 확실하지 않아. 내일 다시
It's not
가보자.
certain yet. Let's go back tomorrow. Yeah? Seleah blinked, trying to process his words. He switched briefly from English to Korean, from Korean to English, his voice tight with reason, as though trying to explain it to himself, really. There could be a mistake. Yeah, this is a misunderstanding. Maybe the words didn't translate right. You don't know for sure what was said. So just, yeah, it could be a mistake. Then again in Korean, softer this time, almost to himself.
언어가 다르면 마음도 오해할 수 있어.
When the language is different, even the heart can be misunderstood. Seleah's lips trembled, her tears slowing. She didn't answer, but she didn't turn away either. Minjae exhaled, running his hand through his hair, the sound of the kettle whistling in the background.
괜찮아요. 제가 같이 갈게요.
It's okay. I'll go with you, he said softly. He reached for the blanket, tucking it around her shoulders, his movements awkward but sincere. From the doorway, Hanrae watched him quietly, the tray still in her hands, steam curling from the pot. A smile touched her lips. Her voice was low and clear. Good. It seems the tea has already done its work. Very good. She stepped forward, setting the tray on the floor beside them. Minjae, she said, pouring the tea. Stay with her tonight if you can. She'll need a steady presence. He didn't look up. He only nodded once, eyes still fixed on Seleah. Hanrae stood, her gaze moving between them, the first threads of her plan weaving into place. In the silence that followed, the world outside the shop seemed to hold its breath. The tea steamed softly in the stillness. Seleah's breath had slowed. Minjae's voice had faded into a low murmur beside her. Hanrae watched them for the last moment. Then she turned toward the door. As she headed for the door, pulling the coat around her shoulders, the air had shifted, cooler, touched by the hour between light and dark. Her assistant appeared in the doorway, hesitant. "Song-sing-님, 어디 가세요? Teacher, where are you going?" Hanrae fastened her last buttons of her coat. "The herb I need to be harvested must be done so before the crescent moon," she said. "I must pick it myself. It is rare and a particular herb. I must find it." The assistant tilted her head. "Song-sing-님, which one?" Hanrae smiled faintly. "The kind that listens to the heart. The one that they used to call the herb of love." She opened the door to the shop. The bell gave its soft metallic chime. Outside, the evening light burned gold on the horizon. Softly to herself, she said, "Just in case destiny decides to cooperate this time." And then she disappeared into the evening breeze. The door closed behind her, but inside, Minjae sat beside Seleah, silent and unmoving, as the last traces of sunlight curled through the steam of the untouched tea. The night stretched long. Seleah drifted in and out of sleep, her breath finally steady beneath the blanket. The smell of the tea and herbs hung faintly in the air, mixed with the low hum of the street beyond the window. Minjae hadn't moved for hours. He sat cross-legged on the floor beside Seleah, elbows resting on his knees, watching the steam fade from the cups. Every few minutes, Seleah stirred, whispering fragments of names, half dreaming, half calling. Each time he looked up, almost answering, but the words never came. When the morning came, the light crept in soft and gray, slipping across the wooden floor. Seleah blinked awake, disoriented, her voice small. Did I fall asleep here?" Minjae nodded, his voice hoarse from silence. "Yeah, you cried yourself to sleep." She turned away embarrassed. I'm sorry. I didn't mean..." He interrupted gently, shaking his head. "Don't apologize." Then, quieter. "You shouldn't believe everything you hear right away." Seleah frowned, still groggy. What do you mean?" He stood, stretching stiffly, avoiding her eyes. "Yesterday, you didn't understand them completely, did you? The language?" She hesitated, nodding. I tried, but I don't know, maybe I..." "Let me go," he said. "I'll talk to them myself." Seleah sat up quickly, the blanket falling from her shoulders. No, don't. You don't have to." "It's okay. I just need to make sure. That's all." She watched him uncertain, her heart caught between relief and fear. He picked up his jacket and hesitated, the practical tones seeping through, hiding his feelings under his logic. "I'll ask around. Maybe it's just some misunderstanding. Maybe they were talking about something else. Yeah, maybe it was just a misunderstanding." Seleah's eyes followed him to the door, her voice barely above a whisper now. "Minjae, 고마워요." He paused, hand on the frame, then glanced back once. Don't thank me yet. He turned. Then she called after him. Wait, please let me go with you. He nodded. She grabbed her coat, and off they went together. The door closed gently behind them, leaving the hum of the morning, the sound of two hearts learning to listen across worlds. The streets were quieter now, washed pale by early light. Seleah kept close behind Minjae, clutching the folded map in both hands. He walked with purpose, not fast, but steady, his expression unreadable. It should be somewhere around here, he said. Seleah nodded, eyes darting between the map and the narrow streets. Laundry hung like flags of ordinary life, a reminder that somewhere, maybe just a corner away, someone was living the story she came to find. When they reached the house with the green gate, Minjae hesitated. He looked at her, just a glance, before stepping forward and knocking. Seleah said softly, This is it, I think. A pause. Then the door opened. The same woman from before appeared, apron-tied, face more alert this time. Ah, the girl from yesterday. Seleah bowed slightly, her heart already thudding. Minjae stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. About the accident you mentioned yesterday. Could you explain again, please? The woman frowned, thinking. She started to speak slow and clear, her hands moving as she described something smaller, lower to the ground. Seleah's eyes flickered between them, confusion deepening. Finally, Minjae turned to her. It wasn't your parents, he said softly. She said it was just two dogs, the family dogs. They were in the road when the truck came. Seleah blinked. Dogs? She said everyone was upset, that they loved them. But your parents, he stopped himself, realizing the words that followed would sound impossible. They're fine, Seleah. They're away. They've been at the community fair all week. She said they're helping with a performance tomorrow, something the children are putting on. Seleah stared past him, her face emptying of sound and color. The woman continued talking, her tone warm now, a bit regretful. Minjae translated quietly. They're kind people, she said. Everyone here loves them. She said the community plans to dedicate tomorrow's performance to your mother, Rosalie, to thank her for all she's done. Seleah's lips parted. Rosalie? She whispered. My mom? Minjae nodded. Tomorrow. They'll be there. They walked in silence. The sun hung low, the sky heavy with a gentle quiet that follows after confusion. Seleah's steps were slow, her fingers tracing the edge of the map. Thank you, she said finally, her voice small, for coming with me. Thank you. Minjae shook his head. You shouldn't thank me till it's over, he said. Well, I know I want to go to the fair tomorrow, she said. I'll take Hanrae with me. Maybe it's best I go with her. I know this has been a lot of trouble for just a coffee order. He stopped walking, looked at her, really looked. I'll see it through, he said simply. It's not any trouble. She smiled, faint and unsure, but this time he didn't look away. The next day, the air was soft and heavy with the scent of the rain that never came. Minjae waited by the gate before he entered, adjusting the cuff of his sleeve, trying to ignore the tightness in his chest. He'd come here with a purpose, to help her find the truth, not to feel this. Then she stepped out. Seleah's green dress caught the light of quiet waves, brushing against her knees as she walked. Her hair, loose but tamed, framed a face that looked both fragile and strong. Lighter now, but shadowed by the weight of what they learned. For a moment, he forgot the reason they were going. The anxious ache that he carried eased, replaced by something unspoken, a warmth that felt almost dangerous. Hanrae followed them to the door, smiling, locking the shop door as she peered through the glass. Her eyes lingered on the two of them with quiet satisfaction, as if watching a plan slide neatly into place. Minjae cleared his throat, forcing a smile. He said, glancing at her, you almost look like you belong here. Seleah gave a soft laugh. Almost? Yeah, he said, teasing. You just need to learn to pretend like you're not nervous. Chega? Me? I'm not nervous, she said, but her voice betrayed her. He chuckled. Good. Then I guess I'm the only one then. That broke the tension just a little. They walked side by side, the silence between them comfortable now, but not heavy. As the road curved towards the lights in the distance, she spoke. Seleah met Minjae's eyes. Okay, I lied. I am nervous. Is this too much? She asked, smoothing the fabric nervously. He shook his head. No, it suits you. A pause, then a half smile. You might even make the fair look dull, he said. That made her laugh, soft, real, easing the tension that had lingered since the morning. They started walking. The street was alive with the hum of the evening. Chatter, market bells, the faint scent of roasted chestnuts from somewhere ahead. Minjae walked beside her, close enough to feel the brush of her sleeve. For once, he wasn't sure if he was leading her towards answers or away from everything he understood. The fairground shimmered with lantern light and music. Children darted between rows of stalls, clutching paper toys and sticky sweets. The air smelled of grilled chestnuts, sesame oil, and something sweet Seleah couldn't name. She slowed as she entered the square, eyes wide, taking it all in. The laughter, the colors, the swirl of sound. It's beautiful, she said. Adam DeWoyle. Minjae glanced around. It's the same every year, he said. Then, softer, almost to himself. I just never noticed it like this before. They walked side by side through the crowd, weaving between food stalls and lanterns strung between bamboo poles. At one stand, a woman turned batter over a hot griddle, steam rising in ribbons. Minjae stepped forward and ordered something quickly in Korean. The woman smiled and handed him 2 small paper cups, each holding a golden pastry. He passed one to Seleah. Try it, he said. She looked suspicious. What is it? Hotokieo. It's sweet and hot. She took a bite, then winced, waving at her mouth. Oh my God, it's like lava. He smiled quietly. A real laugh this time, short, unguarded. You were supposed to wait. Seleah smiled through the heat. You could have warned me. When I was little, he said, still watching her. My mother used to buy me one every year at the fair. I'd eat it fast too then. She looked at him, eyes softening. Guess some things never change. Oh. Pretending not to smile. And then he moved on. The kind of easy silence that doesn't need to be filled. At another stall, an old man was carving small animals from wood. Rabbits, birds, tiny dogs. Seleah stopped, watching his knife move. Then she picked up one of the figures, a little dog with the kind, round eyes, and she turned to Minjae. "For you, sir," she said. He blinked, surprised. Where, where you? Why a dog?" Seleah shrugged, studying the carving. "Because I know you like dogs." The noise of the fair seemed to fade for a moment. He froze, the humor gone, replaced by quiet stillness. He hadn't told her that. He hadn't told her anything at all about himself. Not his childhood, not about the dog that had followed him everywhere, not about the day he lost it. "어떻게... how, he began. Then he stopped. Seleah tilted her head slightly. "Am I wrong?" He shook his head, his voice lower. "No. You just listen too well, I guess." She smiled. "And you help too much." They stood there, close but not touching. The air between them charged and calm all at once. The music from the stage drifted toward them. Soft drum beats, the distant chatter of children rehearsing their dance. He looked at her again, wanting to ask how she knew. But before he could speak, her face lit up. "What's that?" she said, pointing toward the far end of the square. The moment broke gently, scattered into laughter and light. And whatever question had formed in his mind about her, about the strange way their lives seemed to echo, dissolved with the sound of her voice. "Come on," he said. "They're about to start." They followed the music toward the stage, their steps falling into rhythm, lantern light flickering across their faces like the pulse of something inevitable. The fair was alive with color. Lanterns swaying, laughter spilling across the open square. Children ran between booths. Music rose from the small stage where the group of girls practiced in bright handbook skirts. Seleah followed beside Minjae, eyes wide with wonder and ache. Everywhere she looked, something familiar tugged at her. The food stalls, the smell of sugar and oil, the sound of a melody she half remembered from her childhood. They stopped near a crowd gathered around the stage. The announcer spoke in Korean, smiling, voice carrying over the music. Minjae leaned down, translating softly. "They're giving a dedication tonight to someone named Rosalie Mitchell." Seleah froze. Her eyes darted across the stage. And there she was, her mother. Younger, radiant, laughing as she accepted the flowers from the children, bowing deeply, her name echoing through the air. Beside her, a man, her father, Thomas, younger, taller than she remembered, his arm brushing Rosalie's as they raved. Seleah's breath left her body. She didn't cry right away. The tears just slid down silently, one after another, as she stared, the sound fading, the lights blurring. Minjae said nothing. He just sat beside her, his own chest tight, watching her as she seen her past alive again. The crowd clapped, the music swelled, and the children's song of thanks and hope surrounded them. When the performance ended, people began to drift away. Seleah and Minjae followed slowly, lost in the crowd. The lantern light caught her face, wet, trembling. The fair had thinned into a soft murmur. Lanterns flickered low, the air warm with the scent of oil and smoke. Rosalie and Thomas stood at the far end of the street, talking with neighbors, laughter rising gently. Then Seleah's voice cut through the air. "Ma?" Heads turned. Rosalie?"
Rosalie froze mid-laugh. Her name hung in the air, sharp and foreign in the night. Thomas's brow furrowed. They both turned. Seleah was standing under the lantern light, her face pale, eyes wide and trembling. Thomas stepped slightly forward, confusion in his voice. "I'm sorry, do we know you?" Seleah's throat closed. "Dad, it's me." He shook his head. No, we don't have a daughter yet." Minjae froze behind her. His mind flickered, not at the words, but at the way Rosalie's face changed the moment she saw Seleah. Rosalie lifted her hand, gently touching her husband's arm, stopping him from saying more. Her eyes, soft and searching, never left Seleah's face. Then, Seleah reached into her pocket, fingers trembling. She pulled out the small gold ring, aged, but polished from the years of touch. Her voice barely a whisper. "Ma, do you recognize this?" Rosalie's eyes widened. Thomas took a step closer. Seleah held out the ring in her palm, the same ring Thomas wore on his hand, the one catching the light now as he looked down at it. On the inside, the faint engraving glimmered under the lantern glow. The letters OLW, CW, PAL. Rosalie's lips parted. She read it aloud, trembling. "Our line will continue with passion and love." Her voice broke on the last word. Thomas looked between them, the ring in Seleah's hand, the same ring on his finger. Minjae didn't move. He couldn't. For a heartbeat, time seemed to fold on itself. Mother and daughter, past and future, standing in the same breath of night. If you're interested in seeing what happens to Seleah and her parents, check out Chapter 3, The Weight of Truth. See you there.